Hi, everyone. Happy almost the end of the dog month. My goodness, y'all. I hope you had the opportunity to uh, tune into last month's talk. If you did, congratulations, you made it. If you didn't, congratulations, you made it. I'm just curious if you feel called to share. Feel free to hit the chat box and just kind of give us a sense of how your October was. And quite frankly, we still have a couple more days left to this dog energy. But just to share a little bit about just some of the things that I have encountered with my client sessions. October was pretty gnarly. It was heavy, it was jarring, triggering, definitely a lot of life-changing events. Mostly heavy in that there were a lot of deaths, like actual literal deaths happening in people's lives, but also a lot of the symbolic deaths that are happening in people's lives. And so if you've been following all along this year and have just been attuning to, what the elements are trying to teach us, trying to reveal to us. And if you can come back to me and say, you know what, October, I feel like I'm okay. Maybe not like I'm excellent, but I'm okay. I think I still have both feet on the ground and I feel secured and I'm healthy, then awesome, right? That's a huge, huge win. Um, like I said in the talk last month, and we need to just decompress from this dog month for a second before we move on. Um, the year of the dragon is really a year of refinement. It's a time for us to really look at our lives in a much deeper way, in a much more profound way. And sometimes we are being invited to explore that in a very for some people, it might be traumatizing. And actually, there are a lot of people who are going through events in their lives right now that are very traumatizing. But maybe it's also an invitation for you to draw in a deeper connection to your spiritual practice. And that sort of brings us full circle, with what the Dragon Year is all about. And October is the month that we have been preparing for. It's the pinnacle, it's the summit, it's the peak of this wild, wild dragon year. It will certainly go down in history as one of the most memorable times in all of our lives, individually and also as the collective. So, um, well, with that said, we're getting ready to move into the new month. So let's take care of the feng shui first of our homes. Uh, the new month begins on the 7th. So at this recording, right now is November 4th. So we have 3 days to prep. So tonight or tomorrow morning would be a great time to start to pull out all of your feng shui cures and start to cleanse them or find your replacement and prepare for the new month. So this is your cheat sheet for the instructions for this upcoming month. Two things I do want to focus on is the center. As we know, the big numbers are the annual stars, which they stay in that position until the end of the dragon year. And then the small numbers in gray represent the visiting stars. So they change every month. They take on different positions. And so we pay attention to this movement because that's what's creating events and it's stimulating different types of events in our lives. Well, so we want to pay attention to the 5 this month, right? 5, as we know, really represents the hardship, and it's going to be at the center of our homes. And most people, the center of their homes is kind of a funny spot. Maybe it's a wall, maybe it's a hallway. And so placing the cure sometimes is not very conducive depending on what's in the center of your home. But one of the things to pay attention to is this number 5 is going to have a connection with this number 3, and they're what we call in a clash position. So we're very familiar with that term in Bazi. It means an energy sees another energy and they fight. Okay, so they are in this destructive relationship. And so when they're under clash, it's very stimulated, it's very much activated. And what is being stimulated here is actually anger. Okay, because number 3, 3 is a wood element, and wood is the liver. Liver is also connected to the emotion of anger. And so sometimes it conjures up anxiety, sometimes it conjures emotions of joy, different emotions for different seasons. But in this particular new month, there's a lot of anger there that's going to be at the central part of our life. And I'm going to dive a little bit deeper on the anger because that also shows up in Bazi. So we just want to make sure, at the end of the day, if we're not, we can't do all of it. My priority is always to focus on curing the center this month. This is your 6 metal rod wind chime at the center. Master Lo, he used to hang that in his ceiling, or you can just place it under a piece of furniture, depending again, or hang it on the wall, depending on what is in the central location of your chart. Now, because the center is kind of tricky, if you have a floor plan of your property or your unit, just draw an X, from corner to corner so you can actually find the center part of your home. And that's where you want to place the feng shui cure for this month. If you have any questions with that, just send me a message. And then the second thing I want to highlight is over here in the Southwest. Okay, so really ask yourself what is in the Southwest sector of your home, particularly if this is your kitchen or if this is your bedroom. This is the sickness star taking a visit, and it's very, very strong. You're going to start to see people with, upper respiratory type issues, whether that's cold, flu, COVID, pneumonia, even asthma, anything that's skin related. Maybe there's eczema or rashes, things of that nature. And it also can impact the stomach, so digestive issues. So ask yourself if you're prone to any of those types of ailments, then you of course want to have your 6 metal coins in that particular area of your room, and perhaps also up your immune system. Okay, and at times maybe it's just, if you're prone to asthma, maybe it's just putting a humidifier in your room, making sure you have your albuterol, getting some fresh air, opening up the windows to let some fresh air to come through. Or it is, like I said, upping your immune system. Maybe it's getting glutathione shot, taking some vitamin D and vitamin C, et cetera, et cetera. So there's going to be some heightened issues when it comes to health, especially if the Southwest sector is an important area of your house. Okay, so that's all I want to say about the feng shui this month. Again, you can take a snapshot of these are the instructions right here, and this is just an example of a floor plan. If you've ever had a feng shui review done, you will have something like this, very familiar to that. And again, my book is on sale. You can find that on Amazon, and we have a feng shui course coming up in Scottsdale next year. It has to be taught in person, so if this is something of interest to you, you can take a look at that. And we're starting to book out for feng shui reviews going into the first quarter of 2025. It's hard to believe, guys, that we're already starting to think about 2025, but we're coming up to that time. So if you're interested in getting a review, whether you're renovating or purchasing a new home, or you just want a good cleanse of your space and just to reassess and revamp it for the new year, I definitely encourage you to consider doing that. All right, so moving on, let's talk about the Bazi energy of the piggy. Oh my goodness, countdown, countdown. So the month is Yin Wood Pig, and the Yin Wood is like a flower. And so when you think about a flower, there is a fragility, there is a beauty about the flower, right? The flower brings joy. It's the appreciation of small things, the innocent things, of the little things, etc. And then the pig month, right? The pig is a water element. And so when we look at the pig, for example, we say that this is the beginning of the winter season, all right? So no matter where you live in the country, according to the solar calendar, November is the start of a new season. So going back again to the dog energy being the beat, the pause, the oomph, right? The in between, the limbo. Well, we're coming out of that. We're coming out of the limbo stage, and now we're approaching a new season. And when we think about what's happening in nature in the wintertime, animals are sleeping, right? And so energetically, the invitation is the start of hibernation, which kind of goes against the grain because this is typically in the Western world anyway, this is the start of the holiday craze, right? All the shopping, all the social engagement, all the running around. And if you work in corporate or you own a business, it's all about the Q4, right? The planning, the wrapping up, the budgeting. And so it really goes against, right, what is being asked, right, which is what is nature is asking us humans, members of nature, what we need to be doing. And so think about it for a minute. What does slowing down look like for you? And even if you have to run around and travel and do all the things, how can you incorporate moments of hibernation in your life? And when you think of, again, I'm going back to the animals, but they're fat, they're well fed, right? Thinking about the bears, they've hunted, they've eaten everything they've eaten, and they're pregnant and they're going to sleep. And that sleep is a kind of protection, right? It protects them from the harshness of the environment. It protects them from danger, from enemies, from predators, right? And they just sleep and they nurture the babies in Mama Bear's womb. And so when we,
Mama Boober.
oh, what was that? I'm going to mute somebody. Somebody just accidentally unmuted themselves. And so think about what are you implanting at this time? I know we do a lot of goal setting and a lot of vision board manifesting, kind of like, coming into the new year. While in November and December, and even January, these aren't necessarily the time to make a firm commitment, right? What do I mean by that? It means you're just giving yourself the space to just nurture that, right? If you have a thought, it's like, well, I don't have to take action right away. I need to dream about it. I need to pray about it. I need to noodle over it. I need to write about it. I need to sleep on it, right? So there is no need for urgency to make things happen right away. But there's also a sense of protection, right? You're not going to go out and splatter it all over Instagram and tell everybody what your plan is for 2025. There's a need for guardedness and protection. You don't want other people's opinions over it. You don't want other people's judgment or even other people's energy over that. You just kind of want to keep that close to your heart, whatever that might be, okay? Whether it's financial, health, or relationship goals. But really the key here is about slowing down and monotasking, not multitasking, it's monotasking. So it really is a time of deep intention. If you think about October, and remember I said October is the season preparing for death. And I mean that also symbolically. We're allowing the leaves, the yellowed leaves that have fallen from the tree, to fall into the ground, to the earth, and to disintegrate, right? It's decayed and it's disintegrated into the earth to go back into the earth to nurture, right? And then everything comes back full circle. So asking yourself, like, what have I let go? What have I kind of put a pretty little bow and sent it on its merry little way, out into the sky, out into the heaven, right? And it's a time of simplification. It's a time of clarification, right? The less we can unburden ourselves with worries and the habits and addiction of the past, the lighter we can feel going into this season. So that again is just my invitation for you in terms of what maybe some guidance on what to meditate on or what to specifically call in. Now, from an emotional standpoint, right, water and wood, like I said, again, water, okay, water generally is very spiritual. It is also, water people, for example, are incredibly spiritual people. They're wise, it's like the old wise soul, the old soul kind of a thing. But the flip side of water is this anxiety, that there's a kind of anxious, panicky energy, worrying, the thing that you always stay up and you ruminate over and over. Well, that fear can tie into because water supports wood. You see, water supports wood. So that if you have fear, what kind of fear, whatever kind of fear, it's actually going to contribute an imbalance in your liver, which is going to create anger. And now some people have rage, right? Where they actually throw things, they yell, right? They slam the door. And then there's also the passive anger, which is the suppressed anger. So these people have smiles on their face and they look like they're totally okay, but actually their body is so suppressed of anger that it's actually showing up in different parts of their body. So I want to just touch on this really quick. There's a lot of sensitivity right now, especially here if you're tuning in from the United States. We're coming up on a very contentious election that's actually happening on the 5th of November, literally the eve. I'm recording this the eve of the election. And regardless of what happens, there is a lot of emotions around this, okay? And so there's going to be a lot of big, big emotions. And those emotions aren't just going to be crying, whatever side of sadness or grief or tear, but it's actually going to be hostility. It's going to be a lot of these kind of outward emotions. And now, whatever happens in the collective, right? That's one way of also understanding the human condition or the human nature and how it responds to the cycles and the movements of energy. But ask yourself, kind of going into this too, is are you holding on to anything? Are you holding on to any grudges against someone, an event or a situation? Are you suppressing anything, right, that you're holding on to your body? A lot of people are technically, like some people will go see the doctor and they're clinically healthy, right? Their blood work, everything looks fine. But then they have all sorts of ailment. My back hurts. I get migraines. My jaws hurt. My neck hurts. My stomach is out of whack, right? Because we're energy beings, everything shows up in every which way, even if our intellectual mind says something otherwise. And so it's really this need to pay attention to what's going on in my body. So just kind of do a quick once over and say, am I holding on to anything that I should have cleared out in October, but I'm still kind of lingering on with that? It's a good time to get some kind of like snip, snip going into November. And again, there's nothing wrong with anger because anger is a motivating factor, right? It motivates us to do justice, right? And when there is an injustice or an unfairness that happens with your friend, your family, etc., we get angry and we want to make it right. The problem is, again, when we have these excessive rage or suppress anger. And of course, it robs us of our peace of mind and our ability to just be fully vital. Okay, so I realize I used Epictetus, he's a Greek poet, his quote twice, in this presentation. So you just don't want that emotion to keep you hostage, okay? So what is the antidote to anger in this season is forgiveness, okay? So again, just like the autumn season, this is the beginning of the winter. Imagine it. Just kind of imagine, I know for my Arizona people, it's hard to believe this, but just kind of imagine when November 7th arrives, it's like the first snowflakes falling from the sky. You know, like those winter days where you remember those days back in the day, wherever you come from, and you're just like, wow, there's that sense of emotion, there's sense of newness. That change is very apparent. So kind of think about that for a second. Again, the whole hibernation, all of nature has fallen asleep, right? So it's incorporating more silence and more stillness. I had a session today and my client said, I'm very sleepy, Jen. She's like, I don't know what it is, but everything feels heavy. My eyes feel heavy. My mind feels heavy, and not in a negative way. It's just that it's getting darker earlier, and I just feel like I want to cocoon. I'm saying no to a lot of things, even though I love going to my dance classes. I'm saying no to my dance to just be at home, to cook, etc. So if you notice these shifts within you, honor that, okay? And try not to beat yourself up if you're not running around at the gym, or you're not running around with friends. These are things to just pay attention to. And like what I said about your inspiration and your ideas, a need for protection for that, and take your time to let some of those ideas noodle. Okay, this is the beautiful thing I love about the four seasons. And for someone like me, I get to talk with all sorts of people in all walks of life, and even though we're all different, right? We all have our own thing and our own agenda and our own timing and our own season. The cycle of the season shows up one way or another in each and every one of us, and there's always kind of like a baseline in how it impacts all of us. So try to honor that and try to recognize that, and see how you can implement that into your life. Everything in moderation, okay? It's kind of like, it's not about indulgence, right? Today I had a Nutella croissant, you guys. I can't remember the last time I had Nutella in a croissant that was like buttery, flaky croissant that was glutinous, right? But I can't remember the last time I had it. See, I'm living out my moderation. Now, I share that story as kind of a joke, but think about that in terms of like, how are you applying moderation in your life when it comes to spending, right? And we're coming into the holiday season. How are you sharing your energy with other people? Are you such a giver where you don't have boundaries, right? So how can you moderate that, right? And then this is also your own desire, and moderating your desire doesn't mean you're shortchanging yourself. That's not what it means, okay? This is just all about coming back to the most basic human need. Everything else is excess. Everything is icing. But if you can come back to your basics, like I have my health, I have people who love me, I feel safe, right? These are just literally cliche because this is the basic. Then actually you have everything you need going into this season, and there's no FOMO, there's no panic, there's no sense of urgency. If you can temper those thoughts, then you temper anxiety, you temper your anger, etc., etc. Okay. And yay, we have Nobleman again. The Nobleman returns with the month of the pig. So if you were born in the years ending 6 or 7, so like 1966, 1977, etc., like this, or you were born in the year of Yang Fire or the day of Yang Fire, so if you have your BaZi chart like this, then the pig month is your Nobleman month. Okay, so this also is the same. If you have yin fire here or yin fire in the day or the year, you also have a nobleman. So if you've kind of put on the brakes on some things in October, whether that's a contract, commitment, a sales meeting, whatever that you kind of had the option to wait, November is a great time to move ahead. Okay. November is a great time to say yes. Okay. To take charge. So, but overall, energetically speaking, November is going to be much better than October. Okay. Even if it's not your nobleman. okay? Because we're kind of out of that fog, or we're coming out of that fog. Then, of course, we have our clash. Okay, we can never be immune to the clash, but who has a clash? People who have the snake sign in their BaZi chart. Okay, so if you're born in the year of the snake, the month of the snake right here, okay, the day of the snake is the most serious, so you actually have to look at your BaZi chart to make that determination. And if you were born in the hour of the snake, which is 9 to 11 a.m. local time, then you have a clash, right? But don't be afraid of this clash, because remember, October was all about dormancy. So the clash is actually a wonderful relief, because the clash is going to help push things along, everything that's stagnant, everything that needs a move on. That's what the clash is. Here's an example. Angelina Jolie's chart, that's actually a positive clash. So you see, Angelina Jolie was born in the month of the snake and the day of the snake. So she has two snake signs. And in these previous years, so 1995, 2007, 2019, these were all the year of the pig, okay? And we know that the pig and the snake clash. So you see, in 1995, when she was 20, she had a clash. She actually had her breakthrough role. It's the role that actually kind of put her on the map and kind of set her apart from her Hollywood father. And also she had her first significant relationship, okay? And that was with actor Johnny Lee Miller. And then 12 years later, she had another clash, right? So that was 2007, the year of the pig. And she performed or she acted in a movie based on the true life story of Daniel Pearl, who was a journalist. And that movie was called A Mighty Heart, and that earned her kind of like the real respect and the praises for her performance and her portrayal of Daniel Pearl's wife. And she received a lot of recognition and accolades. Of course, every time there's a clash, right, that means something is changing in your life, right? Whether that's elevating you to the next level or it's directing you to a different path. It's definitely not a boring year. You know what I mean? It's not a boring time when you have a clash. And so this is why I also, try to coach people and not to be too afraid of the clash. It's just that we get anxious and worried because we want the change to be under our control, right? And that's not always the case. But also, yes, divorced, because that's a breakup, right? But it sounds like, I mean, I don't know her, but it sounds like the marriage wasn't that healthy. It's full of toxicity. And so you can also look at the breakup as actually a positive thing, right? It's the ending of things that no longer serve you. Sometimes I have a lot of people, they want change, they want to let go of their trauma, or they want to heal from this, and, they want to move on, etc. But if they're not yet in the stage of clash, it doesn't matter how much they intend to. Sometimes destiny doesn't allow you yet to move past that. It's almost like you just have to continue that journey until the clash occurs, and then that's the finality of that, or you finally kind of turn a new leaf in that particular story or period in your life. Okay. Now, Angelina Jolie, she's 40 something. When she turns 51, this is the luck of the pig. She's going to go into a 10-year double clash. This is quite significant. Imagine this is just 1 year, right? These are 1 year clashes, 12 months, already quite significant. When people go into their 10-year clashes, it's huge. I mean, that's upside down. And who knows, maybe she won't be acting anymore. She's going to completely change her career. I think there's already talks about that. It's going to affect health, obviously, relationships and such. So she's not quite there yet, but that's what's coming ahead. Now, clash, as we know, is also the culprit to accidents and mishaps. And clashes is very like this. I can spout off so many, like James Dean, Princess Diana, Jeremy Renner, and the list goes on of people who get into some form of accident because it's mishap. And so you see Paul Walker, he was born in the day of the pig. And while he was in this luck between the age of 31 to 41, this was a 10-year clash. He came to to rise, right? Fast and Furious kind of put him on the map as the, new face and the new Hollywood guy, right? So everything about his life was changing. Bradley Cooper currently has a very similar clash like that. Bradley Cooper became a director for the first time. He became a father for the first time, but he also lost his dad. He also broke up with his baby mama, right? So there's a lot going on. And on this particular day, the 2013, November 30th, in the late afternoon, it also happened to be the pig and snake clash, right? So he has a lot of clash energy, but it just so happened to be he was driving a fast car, very fast, right? And so the general kind of advice when people are under clash, it's like a catch-22. If you remember last year when I fell down the mountain, that was my triple clash, okay? People are like, Jen, why are you hiking on your triple clash? I said, well, I'd rather fall down the mountain than fall in my bathtub or something. That's a choice. He was choosing to drive his fast car on that particular day. But that means why? When we're under clash, we're in a hurry because we have a lot of things going on. Remember I said clash is the opposite of boring. It's a very hyperactive time. Your mind is busy, you're active, you're very creative, you're all over the place. You kind of have this ADD energy, just want to do a lot of things. And so when we're not being mindful, and we're not incorporating moments of stillness, right? Because that's the counter to all of that yang energy. That's when we sprain our ankle. That's when we, get a flat tire. That's when we get, what do you call this? Bumper hit, right? In the car. So when you're under clash like this for a long period of time, I think incorporating some good mindfulness and self-awareness is really important. Now, again, he's a movie star, we're just regular Joes doing life. So I'm not saying everybody will get into car accidents when they're under clash, but it does always happen when you're under clash, okay? So let's move on. I wanted to tell the story of a real life person. So this is a client of mine. She was born in 1952. So she's in her 70s now, doing great. But when she was in her 50s, you see she has the two pigs and snake. And she had this 10-year clash between the age of 53 to 63. So this was really, really significant, right? This was the time when, she became a first-time grandma. Okay, so her kids started to have children, so her identity changed. Now she's not just mommy, but she's also grandma. She retired at the towards the end of this luck. So again, that's a career change. But then she also started doing kind of side hustle, side business. She started collaborating in her community. But then she also had leg surgery. Okay. And her leg surgery required a long rehab. Okay. Because it was something that she was putting off. They sold their house. They moved to a new place. She was living in Arizona. They moved back east and then they bought another house. So there was a lot of opportunity for travel and for movement. And so this is more like a typical clash that happens with people. So I'm just sharing that I always share clash stories every month. If this doesn't, if the pig month is not your clash, that's fine, but you have an opportunity to learn about what clash does, show up for you. So when it's your time for a clash, then you have a little bit more knowledge and awareness on how to equip yourself to navigate that time. Okay, so one of the things I also want to say about November, guess what, guys? It's going to be a preview to 2025. Okay, so between November 7th and December 7th, I want you to just take it in, drink it in, observe the energy, temper down any anger and rage and anxiety, okay, whatever might come up in the month of November. And I just want you to take notes, take notes in terms of what is being revealed to me, what kind of conversations am I having, what opportunities are being presented to me, what doors are opening, right? because this is going to be a preview to the theme in 2025. And guess what? A lot of us, you know, in the Feng Shui and Bazi world, we're already paying attention to this energy so that we have some, you know, some information in our toolbox for predicting 2025. Why? Because November is already going to invite the energy of 2025. So while we have the last quarter of the dragon year, a lot of that snake energy of 2025, which is the beginning of the fire year, okay? Fire is so important for optimism and for joy and for momentum, right? A lot of that is going to start to come in the month of November. So just pay attention, okay? Try not to overreact and make conclusions. One of the things that November also brings, if you were born on the day of the piggy, you have to look at your BaZi chart for this. There is no formula to figure this out. So you need your BaZi chart to see if you have a pig sign on your day, not in your year, month, hour, it's on your day. And what happens is it will trigger this energy called self-penalty. Look at this picture. And self-penalty is just what it means. It's to self-sabotage. Okay, so self-sabotaging behaviors can be very minor, okay, to very, very big. So if I have OCD, if I have perfectionist tendencies, or I have an addictive behavior, perhaps during the month of November, a lot of that will be heightened, okay? And I always joke, these are things like waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning to eat cupcakes, right? And self-sabotaging energy is a secret. You know, it's not something you post on social media and say, oh, I woke up in the middle of the night and I ate a Nutella croissant, okay? It's not like that. This is something because it's attached to shame. And so a lot of the self-sabotaging behaviors are also tied, you know, with our worth, you know, and how we view ourselves. And so this is a very like kind of interior type of reminder, you know, of who we are and our value. So in psychology, people say, you know, why do we sabotage? It literally just is like fight or flight. You know, it's our way to protect or to have a sense of control over our life. And remember, I already covered sort of the theme of November, right? Which is going to bring up a lot of that kind of anger and anxiety emotions. And if you don't have healthy coping mechanisms, this is what happens as we start to self-sabotage. And small kind of like inconsequential things can sometimes trigger people to go into self-sabotage mode. So if you have this tendency, especially if you have a pig sign in your day pillar, it's just good to pay attention, okay? So again, this is all like scientific, okay, situation. But what happens with fight or flight is that your brain doesn't make any differentiation. You know, fight means it thinks your life is in danger. Flight means you run away from danger. But the brain can't tell if the danger is just needing to be at a social event or you're actually fighting off a bear, okay? Your brain thinks they're the same. And so think about what that does, to your hormones, think about what does that to your energy and to your mindset. So just, again, one thing else, you know, to kind of sit with, especially if this applies to you. Ways to navigate. These are just like my sweet little tips for all of you. I always want to try to end on an upside, right? Just celebrate your wins, even if they're small. Like make a big deal out of the small things and keep up with routine, right? Have a flexible plan. But the most important thing is this one, because self-sabotage is a self-critic, right? I work with a lot of people. Sometimes they say, I don't have anyone. Like that's the thing. Like I don't have anyone to rely on, or I don't trust anyone. Everyone fails me. Everyone is out to get me, whatever that statement is, right? But the feeling doesn't often reflect truth because that's not true. Not everyone is out to get you, and you are not alone, right? And so there is no magic potion to self penalty. There's no feng shui tchotchke. There is no Bazi trinket. This is all in the mind. And because I can't be in your mind every day, and I probably don't want to, you're going to have to catch yourself, okay? The self-critic, and reject the shame, right? Um, your thoughts don't always define you, you know? We all have that as females. So I'm just gonna say, I'm fat, right? But it's like, no, you're not. Just because you had a Nutella croissant doesn't mean you're fat. All right. So your thoughts don't always define you, particularly if they're not healthy. And just baby step everything. Try not to overwhelm yourself so much, especially going into the water season when we can be easily overwhelmed. Cozy up to just being a little uncomfortable. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. Nobody's pulling the rug underneath you. You're fine. Okay. And just understand why. Why are these things, bothering you so much? Okay. The more you can understand it, the more you can navigate it, and just love the person that you're becoming. We're all changing. We're changing because of external events. We're also changing within a relationship with each other and also with ourselves, maybe our connection with God and our spiritual works. We're all changing. And so just kind of honor and love, the person that you're becoming. And most importantly, learn how to self-regulate. It's amazing to see how many adults don't know how to self-regulate. It's kind of funny. It's not funny, but it is kind of funny. And so I just want to leave that here as a sweet reminder. And then, of course, ask for help. Now, while I leave you on a high note, I'm going to shock you here for a second. Okay, so you ready? So if you don't know who this is Charles Manson. Okay, so Charles Manson I think he's already dead, but was responsible for being a cult leader, right, back in the 60s, and the whole thing with the murder in Hollywood. And look at his Bazi chart. He has the two pig signs, and they are side by side. This is actually very, very common. I just covered this in my Bazi course with my students. You actually see this a lot with I would say mass killers. For example, one of the shooters in the Columbine shooting, the Boston Marathon, the older brother, their Bazi chart have self-penalty. They were already born this way, okay? And so self-sabotage sometimes for some of these people. I'm not saying you're all going to be mass killers just because you have the sign. This is the extreme case. So I always like to understand sort of the psychology and the energy of these kinds of profile of people. Self-sabotage is also hate, but it's not the hate of others. It's actually they hate themselves. And so they act upon it to not hate themselves as much. And so again, we go from eating cupcakes to having these kinds of tendencies and behaviors. There's a reason for everything, right? If we really wanted to understand why people are the way that they are. And so again, kind of shocking, kind of jarring, but there you have it. These are the penalty days in the month of October. And guess what? Look at November 7th, the start of the pig month is also a pig day. Can you imagine babies born that day? They're born in the dragon year, the pig month, and the pig day. Ooh. All right. So just pay attention to this. Again, if you don't have a pig sign, the effect on you might be very, very light, if any. But if you're interacting with people, you're just like, why are you so hard on yourself? You might be having brunch with a friend and they're just so hard on themselves, right? Suddenly. Or like you yourself, you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're just like, Chase, I'm so fat. Or whatever, whatever it is that we say to ourselves. I want you to remember, it's just that self-penalty energy that kind of hovers over the month of November, okay? So one thing I want to say is we got to spruce up our immune system again. And which areas of the body we have to spruce up is the kidney. These are the kidney in your lower back. So doing exercises to just massage that lower part of your back. If your lower back starts to ache, for instance, usually, in energy work, we say that's related to support. It's sometimes your body is screaming, you don't feel supported, like maybe a friend didn't come through or someone broke a promise or something like that. Your body starts to react and you start to feel that tension in your lower back. In yoga, sometimes you can lay on your back, raise your leg and kind of move side to side to just massage that lower. And also the kidney is the battery of life. It's how we process stress. It affects our cortisol and our adrenal and our ability to think clearly. Okay. And so just be very slow and deliberate in your decision-making process, okay? Even if you are a go-getter. I'm not saying don't be a go-getter. I'm just saying slow down, okay? Take a breath. And we need to pump up the fire. There's no more fire. Obviously, we're in winter season. Fire is completely extinguished. And fire is responsible for joy and optimism and happiness. But you see, because there is a lack of fire, right? A lack of fire is also an imbalance. Fire is also anger, right? It's also that passion, but it becomes the flip side of good passion. It becomes I'm passionately agitated, I'm passionately frustrated, I am passionately unwell, like that. And so just watch happy movies, okay? Um, Keep it light, okay, and joyful, and just pay attention to that in your body. So like I said, we're closing out this month. Okay, so November 5th, tomorrow, or wherever the recording at this time, November 5th is a rooster day. Okay, the rooster is a positive element for Donald Trump. It is his nobleman. The rooster is not as favorable for Kamala Harris because she doesn't need any more metal energy. But then as we go, sorry, that's November 5th, the election day. Then we move into November 6th, which is a Wednesday. The Wednesday is the dog day. Okay, so we're closing out the dog month in the dog day. And we know there is nothing good about the dog. Okay, so there is no nobleman, there is nothing. It's just all the void. It's the gate to heaven and hell. It's the spiritual connection, everything we talked about in October or in 2024. So we're just being very mindful, and how are we showing up, going into Wednesday as we conclude the month and prepare for the new season. And of course, like I said, November 7th also happens to be the pig combination. So there's a lot of tension this week, okay? So just be gentle, be kind, be well, okay? Set your boundaries, right? Maybe it's don't watch the crazy news. Maybe it's not getting off social media. Maybe it's just, focusing on the foundation, the simple things, everything that you have, all in moderation, okay? So I share all these things to try to help you. So just focus on now, be happy, okay? And guess what? The sun always rises. Meaning there's always a new day. Even if you can't do it today, even if you can't do it tomorrow, the next day you can do it again. All right. So it's so important to keep the fire energy alive. I see a lot of people get depressed, usually in September, October, November timeframe. There's a lot of kind of like that bluesy energy. They're just feeling really like out of it, very lethargic. And so we don't have to surrender to that completely because there's things we can do to just lift up our spirit. And it really just takes the small things, okay? So be realistic, but dream anyway. So important as we gear up for 2025. It's literally going to be around the corner. So highly, highly recommend you to schedule your sessions in preparation for the new year. Let me just make sure there's no question. Hi, Jen. Jen, does it need to sway? What needs to sway? Stephanie? And in November, we have Black Friday special for small businesses. So just stay tuned to that in terms of what the offering will be. And guess what, guys? So the December talk, we will not have a live event, but I will pre-record the talk and I'll upload it onto my YouTube channel. I'm not here in December. I'm going to be trekking in Patagonia in Argentina. So sorry, guys, I'm not going to do a Zoom live from the mountain, but I will be here for you in December. So just stay tuned to that or set your calendar to tune into the YouTube. Isn't the little rat? I was showing this to a friend and she was like, oh my gosh, it looks like it's dead. I'm like, no, it's supposed to be cute. Anyway, one final announcement is we have our Chinese New Year celebration coming up. This is the 12th annual talk that I've been offering. It's highly anticipated. It's all about the theme of the new year. I'm actually quite optimistic for next year. So it's not going to be too serious, although of course there's always some things to consider, but I like what's ahead. And so I'm just hopefully, however you take this, is just hang in there for a little bit and then we could move into a new season. So just make sure you register. My in-person is limited, obviously, because of my space, and you can go online. Let's see. How about crypto and stock market? Ooh, what season? Well, I want to say something about crypto. So crypto is like, it's kind of like virtual money, right? And the virtual stuff, whether that's virtual reality or robotic stuff like this, is actually going to come to prominence during period 9. All right. So I already mentioned this in the past. We are in period 9, the fire trigram. It started with the year of the dragon. It's the theme of the next 20 years. So even though there was some crypto like Bitcoin talk in the last like 5, 6, 7 years, it didn't really stick as well, but it can. At least that's the forecast going into period 9. Oh, she's asking about the chimes. No, they don't have to sway. Chinese Almanac will be available. Stay tuned on my newsletter and my social postings so that you can follow the days in 2025. So thank you very much for your questions. And that's it. We made it. Ooh, I did it in less than an hour. Yay, me. I'll stay on for a couple minutes if there's any other questions specifically. So I want to say something here because I recorded the one event that I crafted especially. It's a special standalone workshop, and it was understanding world events with Bazi. And I think, or at least I'm concluding, that the universe doesn't want me to share that because there's some um, predictions and some kind of big things I covered in that talk. And I tried to share it 3 times, and either the file is corrupt, it won't upload, it won't send, it won't open, or there's an error. So I've been trying to do that for the last 3 weeks. So I'm putting a kibosh to that. I'm going to listen to the universe and say, that's it. I'm not sharing it. And I'm just going to share it tidbits little by little here. Some of it I already talked about in this workshop, but that event itself is not going to be available. Um, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Have a wonderful trip. Yes, thank you. Okay, guys. Have a great November. See you soon. Bye-bye.